On today's video, I'm bringing back World on Fire, Ember's old ability, but this time it scales way better and does more damage. You don't even have to worry about losing energy or even building up immolation meter. It is so efficient and it just kills everything in sight. You want to get rid of those pesky Xmas units, acolytes, every single enemy in Steel Path? Well, this is the Press 4 to Win build. What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video coming at you with a devastating Ember build just for you. If you've just seen the little gameplay montage, you already know what Helminth Ability we're using. It's Terrify from Necros. What this ability does is pretty straightforward. It scares enemies and strips them of their armor, and it requires you to have 168% power strength. Why not 69 DE? It would have been a very nice number. But anyway, you need 168% power strength to get that 100% armor strip. There's one thing that Ember's Inferno did suffer from, and that's enemy armor. That's why she had her Immolation and Fire Blast to strip enemies. The problem is, you had to build up Immolation meter, and that Immolation meter would drain so much energy, even if you had crazy amount of efficiency, because you have to build it up, cast Fire Blast just to deplete it so you can retain your energy. I said, screw that, I don't want to build for that, so I decided, hey, Terrify just got reworked. Let me just slap that on Ember, and would you look at that? Now, some of you be saying, but Fire Blast Summer Strip. Yes, you needed to build up Immolation meter, but now you can also double tap Fire Blast to armor strip. There is a problem though. Enemies have to be knocked back, and you need to double cast it for the 100% armor strip if you don't have Immolation. Fire Blast is going to be that additional skill that you cast to get back your shields if you're using Brief Respite, and it's a great CC tool and adds on to the heat. Now, Terrify is not the only thing that's going to make our Inferno scale. I'm going to be using a very unique mechanic that I've covered in several videos, and that's called Heat Inherit. And since I've explained it so many times in the past, I will let past Nightmare explain it to you. Heat is a linear scaling DOT, meaning it ramps up in damage, and it is a set whole tick and not separated by individual ticks with their own timers, like bleeds. When you shoot an enemy with heat damage, it will refresh all stacks and their timers. They will continuously keep dealing damage till they all expire at the same time, unless you keep shooting to refresh them, meaning they can infinitely scale in damage. So how does Heat Inherit work? Well, it's calculated on the first stack, and the instance of heat dot procced on the enemy. It will take the current heat percentage, base damage, and bane on the current weapon you first applied on the enemy, and then you follow up with your main DPS weapon or ability with higher base damage, heat, and another bane. And the new heat instance will be combined with the previous weapon's heat and bane percentage to it. If you didn't understand this, the DPS weapon or the ability inherits the heat percentage and faction multiplier from the primer, hence the name. Now that you have a general understanding of how Heat Inherit works, I'm also going to be using a mod called Archon Vitality, which allows me to double my heat procs with the same damage, which is very damn good if you're using fire abilities. And guess what? It's on the fire Warframe. Who would have thought? Remember, heat, just like Slash, needs an entire second to start dealing its damage over time, but Inferno has its own base damage, so you're going to deal initial fire damage, and then it's going to tick over time. But with this particular loadout, you're just going to be killing them straight up, but you're going to be noticing as you get to higher levels, you're going to need that tick over 1 or 2 seconds to fully kill a level 2,000 to 5,000 enemy. I'm just going to demonstrate how this works step by step. You go in, prime enemies, see, now they have the heat proc, press 2, press 4, and look at that. Haha, they died. Oh, these guys didn't get hit. But there you go. That's it. That's the build. These guys didn't get hit because the fourth ability does have weird line of sight issues, so you're just gonna have to cast it again. Now, another great thing is that the fourth ability will not consume energy if there's no enemy in sight or if Ember can't see them. As you can see that I'm casting it and my energy isn't going down one bit. So if you're wondering, oh, I want to get my shields back by using an ability that consumes energy, you got to make sure that there are enemies in sight. So the most consistent way to do it is casting the third ability or the second ability. And both of these skills crowd control. Third ability will knock them down. Look at that. Cast it again and their armor strip. But they're already primed with heat. So just prime them with viral and finish them off. Alright, let's take a look at the Ember build. So, as you know, we already have Terrify over the second ability. And over here in the Archon shard sections, I do have the 2 casting speed shards. There, this is just to give me natural talent without modding for natural talent, meaning I'll have a free slot on the build. These are literally the only shards you need, but if you want to make it even better, just slot it all with yellow shards, and the last 3 shards could simulate preparation, basically starting the mission with additional energy. In the aura, I have Brief Respite. This converts energy spent into shields. I do have a lot of efficiency. So that's why I have Augur Secrets and Augur Reach. Now you may notice, oh wait, there's something missing here. You don't have Rolling Guard. Well, no worries. I do have my Focus School that will help me out. Anyway, Prime Sure-Footed. If you do not have this, use Handspring. Efficiency at 175% with Fleeting Expertise and Streamline. This is capped efficiency. There's no point leveling Streamline again. And another thing, do not maximize your Fleeting Expertise because you don't want to go under 50%. You need to have some duration, and that 50% duration is going to give us enough time for the enemies to be stripped and using your 4th ability. We have 12 seconds of armor strip. That's enough time for you to kill enemies with your 4th ability or any other weapon if you want to. Range at 175% with Stretch and Augur Reach, and Power Strength at 168, unfortunately not 69, with Augur Secrets and Umbral Intensify. This is enough to have 100% armor reduction, and for additional Power Strength, I do have Molt Augmented in the Arcane slot. At max stacks, this gives me an additional 60% power strength. So I will have 228. So I can do math. And Archon Vitality, don't need this maxed at all. Just slot it in and you're just going to get the benefits of it. Health is pretty much useless in this situation because we're going to be relying on iframes and our shield gate mechanic. So as you know, Archon Vitality will double proc the heat procs. It will not multiply, it's just doing double the damage. It's the same damage, but twice. Hope you understand that. And it only works with abilities. And finally, Prime Flow for the large energy pool because this is going to be a spam ability build. Now, there will be situations where Xmas units will not take the full damage because the Overguard isn't stripped. So best way to get rid of Overguard is using a Fenmore. These are my evolutions. If you want to know more, I do have my Fenmore build guide, which I took it up against level 9,999. Yes, level cap enemies. And this is the build. Amog Observation is just here for that utility and sprint speed. Well, that's it. We got our faction mod, we got a base damage mod, and of course a bit more base damage, fire rate, more fire rate and punch through, reload speed because it affects going in and out of Incarnate, very useful, more damage, and increased in slash because we want to focus on the bleeds and the raw DPS output. And the primer that I'm going to be using for Heat Inherit. Make sure you have your faction mod and the 2 heat mods. Secondaries have the largest heat elemental damage multiplier, so that's why they're the best when it comes to Heat Inherit primers. If you have a Riven with a faction mod, heat, multi-shot, or even just multi-shot, or even heat and faction mod with a negative, that's an additional damage to your Heat Inherit primer. Of course, viral, status chance, multi-shot, and the utility for dodge speed. And to kill acolytes, I do have the OMA. This is modded for heavy attack. Just that. No need for faction mod, just raw damage. And we just modded for 1 element because it has innate electric, so easy corrosive. Acolytes have ferrite armor, and you just dominate them. Unfortunately, Terrifying does not strip Acolyte armor. And our secondary source of survivability, since we don't have Rolling Guard, is Vazarin. Why the Vazarin Focus School? Well, it's because of Protective Sling. When you dash into yourself, you grant you, and even allies that you dash into, 5 seconds of invulnerability and healing over time. And the Panzervopal Phyla is just here for additional viral procs. The build is like so, as always, nothing has changed. And just to help you a bit more with the shield regen so you can refresh your shield gate, definitely use a Decaying Dragon Key to lower your shield percent value. Alright folks, that has been it from this Press 4 to Win build video. If you've learned something and enjoyed it and you just want to have fun and dominate like how Ember used to back in the day as well, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.